A furry paw neither beast nor man reaches from the grave, as a full moon causes gentle soul to become desire's slave. Covered in fur, this poor fool tries to avoid the wolf's bane, as he picks begonias off the short box of the inane. One more time to the always unexpected yet eternally disappointing Short Box of the Inane. I'm your host, the Last Angry Goul. Hey, wait a minute. Full moon? Covered in fur? That sounds like a werewolf. But fortunately, I was never attacked by a werewolf, although last year I did get bitten by a sock puppet. And now, when the moon is high... Ha 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 ha. Oh no, the change overtaking me. Huh. Oh well, I guess for one night you can call me the Last Angry Monster. Makes about as much sense as Last Angry Geek. And since horrible transformations are usually undone by a quest, on this edition of the Short Box, we will feature a quest. And the star, while not a werewolf or a monster, does look a lot like the furry monster puppets you can see on Sesame Street. Sesame Street. As we review the Image comic written by Scotty Young and drawn by Kyle Stram, Twig, issues 1 through 5. A crowing bird on a roost, perhaps some sort of warbler, awakens Twig, a fuzzy blue creature who realizes he's late. Why didn't Splat wake him up, Splat being a sort of cephalopod with giraffe coloring? Waking Twig up was never his duty as far as he knew. The pair run through the forest being reminded of their tardiness by the flora and fauna alike, culminating in a good old shaming by a talking mountain. And on his first day as placeling, Tisk. Twig apologizes to Mount Guffin. Mount Guffin? I wonder if he's Scottish. No, that would make him Mount MacGuffin, and who wants to climb Mount MacGuffin? Well, just my friend with the hitch in his, best not to talk about Elfie right now. Appropriately contrite, the mountain extends a tongue to Twig, who runs inside. Splat provides some light, but Twig still misses that hole in the floor, and they take a slide into a chamber. Little orange monsters and the odd rock creature are working the belly mines. One of the creatures takes him to the boss. When he was young, he didn't want to be a miner, but a placeling like Twig. Twig wanted to be a chef, but when his father, the previous placeling, died with no apprentice, he stepped in to fill the role. They arrive at the boss's office. He hands over a red gem they mined years ago. He doesn't know what it does. For that, Twig must find the Pathsayer. Splat does wonder, if they exited the other side of the mountain, was that Guffin's... never mind. Twig cooks them dinner, explaining how each recipe is like a puzzle to be solved. For that attention to detail, Splat thinks he'll make a fine placeling. Their journey covers a lot of ground, but they eventually come to the Pathsayer's cartogratory. He doesn't answer the door. Still, time's a-wasting, so Splat picks the lock and they go in, only to find the Pathsayer dead. They bury him, but now what? They try and pour a few chemicals into his machine. Maybe this will tell them where to go, or maybe it will go boom. Twig is granted a vision of evil kings, monsters, and taking the gem to where the blade blossoms bloom. But the machine is overloading and the pair run, but not far enough as the gem explodes. The gem is now dead. Twig is distraught, but he realizes the gem has simply lost its nectar, and there may be a solution. Once upon a time, he remembers a story his father told him of an item losing its nectar, or its innate magical power. He took the item to the mysterious Nectarmancer. So they're off to find this wizard in the dark pines. Unfortunately, they're cornered by a herd of purple beasts called chitters when a howl calls them off. The Nectarmancer. He'll see if he can repair Twig's item. When Twig asks how he knows that that's why they're here, it's because that's the only reason his kind ever seeks the Mancer out. Unpopular. Smelly. Stupid. Okay, so just smelly. Try Nectar of the Gods. Nectar is the most popular antiperspirant in existence. As it's a tar you apply to your neck. The tar applies invisibly and seals up your sweat glands. And with those glands sealed off, you die. But Nectar of the Gods promises you the nicest smelling corpse you won't be alive to smell. That's Nectar of the Gods. The antiperspirant's so good, you only need to apply it once. Get a 2-ounce bottle for only $750. Hey, we can only sell you one of these at a time. We need to make $1 too, you know. The gem is completely drained. He'll need time, which Twig is sure they don't have, but the Mancer sends him off to get some sleep. He has a dream of the gem dying and failing his father before being woken up by the Nectarmancers shouting, "This is the last gem, one that would have opened up a new age of peace for the world. There are no more like it. If it had worked, Twig wouldn't have needed to be a placeling anymore." It's hopeless. But Twig won't quit. Impressed by his moxie, the Nectarmancer tells him to find 3 items to restore the gem's nectar. It seems doable, except the last item is on the moon.
The last item is on the moon? I don't see it. Oh, the one up in the sky, yeah. But my understanding is to get to the moon you need a bird, specifically a good goose. Butt jokes. A staple of my humor for over 10 years.
A small village is defending itself from invasion, but the furry folk are destroyed by the magic of the evil king from Twig's vision. In fact, this is a dream. They continue to journey to repair the gem, but when Twig stops for a melon, he gets Ewoked. Splat can't cut the rope, but does shapeshift into a melon to wait for Twig's captor. Twig is worried his captor will eat him, when he hears a voice explain that he will skin him, sell the fur, and let someone else eat him. A placeling's hide is rare and valuable. But if the trapper knows he's a placeling, then he knows what's at stake if Twig fails. Bah, malarkey. He's heard it all before, and the world has never ended. Yeah, because of the placelings. But the trapper fails to notice Splat, who throws a torch, burning the hides while he frees Twig and they escape. The trapper chases them, and Splat encourages Twig to jump! The malleable, glowy friend becomes a parachute. They travel further, getting to the western plains to find the horned beast, except they're all dead. Likely killed by poachers who want the heart of a horned beast, which is what Twig needs. Twig really didn't know if he could kill one, but it turns out 1 is the number of horned beasts left. They chase it to yet another of the increasingly common cliffs. He pulls a knife out. What choice does he have? Turns out the beast is intelligent, and once Twig explains that its heart will correct his mistake and let him save the world, it chooses to lay down to die. We then cut to the beast eating a meal with Splat and Twig, who couldn't bring himself to kill the beast. The beast doesn't have a name since it's the last of its kind.
Well, maybe a description could be its name. Like, it's really nice and it's the last of its kind, so how about the last nice beast? No, I don't like that middle word only being 1 syllable. Affable? Kindly? That's it, kindly. The last kindly beast. I do have a knack for this.
Twig has another dream. This time, a mushroom-hatted hero comes to find the last gem missing. He's surrounded and killed by the evil king and his minions. Twig awakens to find the beast saddled up. It and Splat stayed up and came up with the name Lobi for the beast. Lobi has decided to help them complete their quest. Maybe at the end, Twig will have enough courage to take Lobi's heart. Until then, it's off to the Never Not to get a song from the Boxed Loxes. Lobi explains that horned beasts keep their hearts in their horns, so when poachers would take the horns, they'd be killing the beasts. Also, it turns out this bog is a giant's mud bath. Run! Twig explains to Lobi that a placeling's job is to put all the elements in place necessary to save the world. How it's saved is always different, though. They arrive at the Never Not. They hear something sealed in a box singing. It doesn't quite believe they're real at first, but they've come for a song. You can't just have a song, you need to trade for it. Twig empties his sack, and the creature in the box spies the key he picked up earlier. That will do nicely. Twig isn't sure he should let the creature out. It could be dangerous. Well, it's been in this box so long it no longer remembers why it was contained. It tells Twig he must decide if his need for a song is greater than the threat the creature could potentially pose. Twig doesn't feel like he has much choice and unlocks the box, letting loose an almost gelatinous purple monster. It whispers something to Twig before flying off. Twig thinks it's time Lobi and Splat leave. They shouldn't spend their last days watching him fail to save the world. But Splat knows he's heading to the moon to get a tear. They're going to help him get there no matter what. As they cross a rickety bridge, they're worried about falling to their deaths. But the bridge won't kill them, a voice says. He will. The trapper is back. The trapper will now not only get the placeling hide, but the last horned beast horn too. They turn to run, except Lobi, who charges the trapper. Lobi jumps up, nearly squashing the trapper. Twig screams, "Please, save yourself!" But Lobi has decided that Twig must save the world. The bridge collapses, sending Lobi and the trapper tumbling into the mists. Splat tells Twig they must keep going. Why? The heart of the last horned beast is gone. He failed, just like he knew he would. Well, fine. Then Splat will go it alone. They have to try, or what else did Lobi die for? Twig rises. They'll need to eat first. He makes a pizza-type meal, the same meal his mother always made his father when he came back from a placing.
Aw, what's the matter, Slugger? Well, my new friend died, so now I can't harvest his heart to save the world. So you're sad because your friend is dead and that means you can't kill your friend? Sort of a catch-22, I know. Well, I think I know what will cheer you up. Who wants pizza? Yay! With pineapple, pass.
Twig remembers that his father once said a placeling needed to have heart to save the world. It wasn't Lobi's physical heart that they needed, but its courage. By sacrificing itself, Lobi gave them a chance to save the world. They still have a shot. Oh, that's good, says Lobi. Mr. Plume was fog fishing when he found Lobi on a tiny Susian branch. Happy as they are to see Lobi alive, this is no time for sentimentality. Mr. Plume offers them a ride to the edge of the world. They get dropped off and head to a small outcropping leading to the moon. Twig goes it alone from here on out, floating up through time and space, landing on a small asteroid in front of the large pink moon. We flash back to the prisoner whispering to Twig. He cannot give him a song. That's a personal thing, but at the right time he must simply sing what's in his heart. Holding the gem, Twig sings. The moon unravels, revealing a strange, and I realize that word is losing any credibility in the context of this story, gigantic animal with 2 gigantic inscribed rings, a ton of blue jellyfish, and 2 glowing eyes. The song brings a tear to its eye, which falls into the last gem, sparking it back to life. We see the mushroom-headed warrior down the road from the large red stone meant to hold the last gem. Yes, he's late. Yes, if he doesn't get there before the chosen one, all is lost. He makes it, placing the last gem in the stone, and the trio hide.
We now return to the finale of Twig, and can I say as a genderless puppet character how proud I am that this story isn't relying on tired old tropes, like the idea of a man being the savior.
The mushroom-hatted warrior, aka the chosen one, sees that this is the last heartstone. He plucks it out from where Twig placed it and sets it in his sword. He is now ready, and heads off. Lobi is a bit confused. It thought Twig was going to save the world from the great evil. Well, he sort of did. A placeling's job is to get an important item for a chosen one's quest and leave it for him to find. He's sort of the man behind the scenes, making it possible for the chosen one to defeat evil. Splat asks, how was it being the last placeling? Twig could see doing this again. Oh, so he wants the world plunged into evil. What? No! He wants the world in danger so he can feel good about himself. That's not what he said. As the trio of friends head into the sunset bickering, the world is a safer place thanks to Lobi, Splat, and Twig, who will return, so I guess he'll get that chance.
And that's Twig, starring a character as some kind of a mop or uppity, or perhaps a combination of the 2 words, mop uppet. Well, with that kind of character, I'm glad I was here to review it, although I do see the moon is setting, so
well, I'm still a hairy mess, just not quite as adorable. Oh well. Twig, the fantasy adventure that tells the story behind the story. But was that story any good, or should we have held out for old Mushroom Hat's tale? Let's take a closer look at this 5-issue miniseries, Twig.
Well, Twig is a visual treat. The characters that would be portrayed through CGI or puppets in a practical film are married into one visual language for this book. Kyle Strahm portrays an exaggerated cartoonish style that really works. The whole story reads like an adaptation of a lost Jim Henson movie. Furry creatures, soulful monsters, even an out-of-place mechanical man. If you're like me and you grew up on things like Labyrinth and The Dark Crystal, then Twig makes perfect sense, even if they don't hold your hand and walk you through what you're seeing with explanations. The MVP of this book has to be Jean-Francois Beaulieu, who did the coloring. He makes it look as though everything was painted rather than drawn. Subtle use of light and dark blues to portray Twig's fur. The rain falling on the trapper and splashing off in the night. The cosmic birth of the moon egg. He uses a more subdued palette of pastels that don't distract from the art. Another colorist might have been tempted to use brighter colors on what could be perceived as a children's book or fairy tale. Beaulieu's coloring keeps the book looking fantastic, but stops it from becoming absurd. That is, it looks like a real universe that fits together and makes sense, despite the inhabitants conforming to a style that speaks to what we took in as children. Yes, they look like puppets or creatures from a kid's book, but the story is never underwritten, which brings us to the writing by Scotty Young. Young is a fantastic artist, mostly known for his Young Marvel covers, but has branched into writing with the book Strange Academy, which I previously reviewed. The idea of the placeling is one that plays out through the course of the book. I'm not sure if I'm disappointed or impressed with that ending. That his sole job is to get a crucial item to the person who needs it to save the world seems quite sublime. But it also seems absurd that all that pressure is just to trust that the new hero will go on to save the world, and he can just go home and have pizza. It's like reducing the quest Twig and Splat pour their hearts and souls into suddenly becoming a 9-to-5 job. Because this is a good and epic quest, the characters all fit the quest archetypes too. Twig, the reluctant hero who's the only one who can complete the task. Splat, the comedic sidekick who becomes whatever Twig needs to keep on going and inspires his friend at his lowest moment. Lobie, the victimized innocent who finds inner strength to become a hero in their own right. The Trapper, the sinister villain thrown in their path. By fact of his starting slightly late, so much goes wrong. The Pathsayer is dead before he can tell them where to go. They must figure out a way to repair the gem Twig breaks. They wrestle with the morality of killing an innocent for the greater good. All this Twig questions his own worth, following in his father's footsteps, while equally relying on his father's lessons to complete this journey. And while the ending might be a tad underwhelming, by story's end this little blue monster stayed true to himself and his friends, and conquered his doubts.
Hey, Twig is a lot of fun and a good all-ages book. The children will enjoy the story for its visuals and action, while adults can take something from the journey of Twig growing up. I give Twig, issues 1 through 5, 4 out of 5 stars. And knowing that whenever a twig snaps in the forest, it means I have to go answer the door. Excuse me.
I wonder if I had been part of a tree, would I be the sap? Because
Mr.
Gouley. I was inspired by Twig's journey. In fact, I tried to retrace it from finish to start.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I am braver than you.
Hey.
I started from the gem's final location and walked back to where Lobie and the Trapper tumbled off the bridge. And finally, I came to Mount Guffin. Gee, I wish I hadn't taken that route in reverse.
Oh, why?
Because since I did it in reverse, I came out of his mouth.
Well, that means you went into his... Oh.
Exactly. But while I was there, I noticed something. There were small feral cats trying to get out, but Guffin had these mists coming out of his teeth that stopped them from escaping and wreaking havoc on the outside world. But they could get out where one of his 10 teeth was missing on the right side of his jaw.
Well, that's incredible. Dental mists? Cave kitties? What does it mean?
That 9 out of 10 dental mists recommend fighting cave kitties.
Oh. Not sure I even got that last one. 9 out of 10 dental mists recommend fighting cave kitties. Wow. Of course, that's just the sort of high-quality joke you can expect whenever we crack open the short box of the inane. So join us next year when we crack this box open again and air out some of our grievances. Of course, if we aired this out too much, it might lose some of its charm. But speaking of being high on crack, what did you think about Mount Guffin? I mean, they had to come out somewhere. Was it a crack? Was it a hole? Was it a series of stairs? And if they turned back, Splat would have been trapped in Mount Guffin's rear forever. I don't know. It's getting a little too meta in here. Speaking of meta, I preferred it when it was called the Oculus, but that's just me. Okay, my friends, thank you once again for joining us here on the Short Box of the Inane. You have no one to blame but yourselves. I washed my hands of this. And that's good, because during COVID, you need to wash your hands.